going on in San Francisco and around the country. But the work continues for the city and county of San Francisco. There's truly a lot of work. Right now, we're dealing with balancing our budget, including a $1.5 billion budget deficit. We have over 200,000 people who are unemployed in San Francisco. We face a number of challenges with homelessness and the ability to produce more housing faster, all in the midst of watching kids return to school and distance learning and the challenges that we continue to face. We know what we're up against. And the good news is that we have really strong leaders in the city and county of San Francisco who are committed, in addition to battling COVID, committed to doing the work necessary to move our city forward. Today, there is an announcement that we have around a project that many of us have worked so hard on, and that is the final closure of the county jail at 850 Bryant Street on the 7th floor. The fact is, it was a long journey. Last year in October, we announced the planned closure, and we expected to do it in 2021. But the good news is, through the work of our city administrator, Naomi Kelly, and our former sheriff, Vicki Hennessy, and our new sheriff, Paul Miyamoto, who picked up the mantle and moved this project forward, we are in a position to close that particular facility sooner rather than later. And today is an announcement that we would do exactly that. Now, when I talk about my lived experiences of growing up in public housing, I don't just talk about it because I live there. I talk about it because of the challenges that I and other people through those experiences faced. The sad reality is it wasn't uncommon for so many of us to visit 850 Bryant Street. Family members, friends, and when we would go up that elevator to the 6th floor to sign up for 7th floor visits, that hallway, the concrete, the payphones, the few benches where we had to sit on the floors in order to wait to go up to that other small elevator to go visit family members and friends. That experience still haunts me. And I'm sure many people in this city know exactly what I'm talking about because of their experiences of visiting friends and relatives at 850 Bryant. But the thing that has always stuck with me the most, when you grow up in these communities, you know that there are also a lot of people who don't deserve to be there. Yes, we have, sadly, people who have committed crimes where they need to be held accountable. But when I had been visiting people in 850 Bryant Street, and on occasion, for the most part, you know everybody who's sitting there waiting, and you also know a lot of the folks that you see behind those windows. And sadly, in many instances, there are people in there who had nothing to do with the crimes that they are in there for in the first place. Our criminal justice system is broken. We have real problems with how, sadly, disproportionately, when you talk about San Francisco, one of the most progressive cities in the country, with a less than 6% African-American population, we still have almost 50% of the people who are incarcerated in this city are African-American. We know disproportionately that we still have challenges. We still have issues with this criminal justice system. And now, here in this city, we are doing something about it. We are closing the 7th floor of 850 Bryant Street. And we're closing it because no human being should have to be there. I remember visiting that facility years ago, and growing up, I only visited the visitor's room. I had never been behind the scenes. And as a supervisor, going behind the scenes, seeing the work conditions that the sheriff's deputies had to endure, seeing people that I know, that I care about, from my community, and their children in these jail cells that are small and tiny, 2 to 3 people in a cell. And we want them to have a better life. We want them to not lose it in a facility like this. We have to think differently about what it means to not only people who are incarcerated, but what does this mean for when they come back and re-enter society? How do we truly have the kind of facility that's going to change the hearts and minds of the people that we want to support? 850 Bryant Street is not such a facility. It is inhumane, it is nasty, it is dirty, it is filthy, and I wouldn't want to see my worst enemy in that place. It's time to close it, and that's exactly what we're doing. We're closing the door on the past and mass incarceration at its absolute worst. And we're opening a door to a real change, to a new way of reforming criminal justice in San Francisco. And we're doing it because there are people who work in this building who actually care about changing it for the better. So today's announcement is a significant step towards real reforms in our criminal justice system. And I am truly grateful to, as I said, our city administrator, Naomi Kelly, Vicki Hennessy, when we worked on this together, a community activist, Roma Guy, who's amazing, our current sheriff, who moved up the timeline and was very aggressive in helping to get this done, Paul Miyamoto, the supervisor from District 1, who cares deeply about this issue, Sandy Fewer, who has taken up the mantle, and also the work around the fees and a number of other things that I'd worked on at the Board of Supervisors, and phone calls and profiting off the family members of people who are incarcerated, who are oftentimes women and low-income people. Her work has been absolutely incredible around criminal justice reform. Our public defender, Mano, Raju, and our district attorney, Chesa Bodine, working collaboratively. Because I want to be clear, you know, it's very personal because it wasn't just my brother. It's other family members too. It's other friends. It's other people that I love and care about. And just imagine knowing someone had the potential, who's now incarcerated, to be mayor, to be president, to be a rock star, to be a musician, to be anything he wanted to be. But because he was accused of something he never did, he's behind bars at a place like 850 Bryant Street. That happened to more Black people in my community than I can count. That's why this is so important here today. It's about reforming this system. It's about making a change. The future of how we address criminal justice depends on it. How we remove the disparities depends on the actions that we take through policy, through investments, through complete reforms of this system. So I am excited about this announcement today and grateful to the leadership of the city and the people that we work with to make it happen sooner rather than later. And at this time, I would like to introduce our sheriff, Paul Miyamoto, who has been absolutely an incredible partner to work with and someone who picked up the mantle and moved the closure of 850 Bryant Street forward sooner rather than later to get the job done. Sheriff Miyamoto.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In your remarks, you painted a very vivid picture of your experiences at 850 Bryant. And through San Francisco's history, there have been 19 jails used to confine pretrial and sentenced justice-involved persons. Since 1962, the San Francisco Hall of Justice at 850 Bryant Street has been the center of the criminal justice system for our community. Built within the Hall of Justice were two of these jails. Located on the 7th floor of the Hall of Justice, County Jail 4 was, since its inception, the maximum security facility for the San Francisco Sheriff's Department. The facility consists of single, multiple occupancy cells, dormitories, all with barred concrete cell fronts. The jail is what we call a linear facility, with housing units configured alongside a patrolled line or walkway. The rated capacity for the jail is 402 people. To give you an idea of the historical context of that County Jail 4, the jail used Alcatraz Federal Prison cell block lettering for its housing areas. The design has outlived its functionality, and since the 1990s, the San Francisco Sheriff's Office has grown and moved away from the use and form of management of these types of facilities to a direct supervision model with more humane infrastructure that provides for a humane, safe living environment without the use of bars. County Jail 4 represents the last vestiges of a bygone era. It is a symbol of an outdated philosophy and represents the old way of doing things. An old way of doing things that a sheriff's office and our city have moved away from. And as a leader in progressive change and reform in our system, it stands as a symbol of that which we move away from. Our other linear jails in our system, County Jail 1 and County Jail 3, have been closed over the years, respectively in 2006 and in 2013. And County Jail 4 remained the last linear facility for us to close. I personally have been assigned to County Jail 4, and on another personal note, one of my nephews, the last time that I actually saw him was on the 7th floor when he was housed up there, and I was the captain there. When I became sheriff, I committed to closing that facility. It has outlived its usefulness, and being seismically unsafe was not just putting the people incarcerated in danger, but also our staff, deputies, contractors, and all of the community members who came to visit. The continued use of this decrepit, inhumane structure has led to plumbing and sewage issues and litigation for our city. For years now, we've been working collectively to safely relocate our population and close the jail. Original plans to remove justice involved out of the building have been challenged with funding issues, with capacity and space issues at our existing facilities. But thanks to the leadership of everyone that the mayor has mentioned, including herself and Supervisor Fuhrer, who I'm about to introduce, we've been able to finally move out of the building. We're in a position to close early due to the efforts of our staff and our healthcare partners, the Jail Health Services staff and the Department of Public Health, who've been able to work with us even while meeting the challenges of COVID-19. We have worked collaboratively, creatively, and focused on transitioning to a reduced living, work, and visiting space while being responsive to advocates' concerns and the concerns of our criminal justice partners. Our deputies have exceeded expectations and performed their duties at an exceptional level of professionalism with attention to everyone's health and safety. And I'm very happy to mention that we will be moving ahead, and as we say early, we'll be closing down the facility the upcoming Labor Day weekend, September 5th, 2 months ahead of schedule for the planned closing legislated by Supervisor Fuhrer. Since the onset of COVID-19 in March and the corresponding reduction in our population to limit exposure, our census today at County Jail 4 is 77 persons. Our other county jails will be absorbing them as they transition to those other locations. And our 70 supervisors and deputies will be reassigned to other areas of the department to fill staffing needs and reduce our reliance on overtime to meet minimum staffing levels. During the COVID-19 pandemic, jail and prison populations have been especially vulnerable. While San Francisco County jails have not been immune from the virus, we have been a rare success story, working with everyone to limit exposure and prevent outbreaks in our system. While the closure of CJ4 reduces custody space, we have and continue to develop prevention and safety protocols to intercept, control the virus, and keep everybody safe. Finally, I wish to again thank my staff for their dedication and focused attention on our goal to safely advance the closure of County Jail 4, and commend all of our city partners for being a part of this process and supporting our mission. This is truly a historic moment, as the mayor mentioned. Closing a jail is a reflection of our continued commitment to changing the narrative of our justice system and look to reform and to helping others. And at this time, I'd like to introduce Supervisor Sandra.
Hello, everyone. I am absolutely thrilled today to be joining you and joining the mayor with this announcement. This last spring, my office brought forth legislation to close County Jail number 4 by November. My legislative aide, Chelsea Bollard, worked very hard on this, and at times we thought we couldn't do it. It was very controversial. People said you couldn't close that jail by November. It's too soon. And here we are today, standing here with the sheriff and the mayor and also our public defender to say that County Jail number 4 will be closed by Labor Day. Although we thought we could do it, we knew that we would have to win people over to have them believe that actually this jail, which is deemed dangerous, hazardous, and also unfit for people to live in, that we could close this so quickly. I just want to mention also that it was never considered to be impossible by our mayor, that it is rare and unusual that we have a city leader like our mayor who has the lived experience of knowing about County Jail number 4. There are mayors who have never walked into County Jail number 4, but our mayor thoroughly understood that County Jail number 4 had to be closed, and it had to be closed as soon as possible. This legislation that we passed was passed by the board, a 10-to-1 vote, and it was hard to get some supervisors on board because of the belief that we couldn't do it so soon. That is why today I am thrilled to be here. Closing County Jail number 4 2 months before we mandated it in our legislation. It is absolutely outstanding. It is incredible. It is a testament to see what can happen when we have city departments working with our mayor and with also the Board of Supervisors and what we can do. So today, I want to say thank you to Mayor Breed, to Sheriff Miyamoto, to Sheriff Hennessy, City Administrator Naomi Kelly, who herself said that this place is dangerous and hazardous and no one should be living there. And thank you to our public defender, who has also supported us in our effort to close County Jail number 4. But above all, thank you to all the advocates who work so closely with us to make sure that we never lost faith in this legislation. And today, we are thrilled. Again, I have to say, we are kind of over the moon that we are able to close this jail, which nobody should live in. No one should have to habitate there. No one should have to work there. That is a dangerous building that is hazardous to everybody's health. And we are closing another jail in San Francisco. Thank you very much. And now I'd like to introduce Public Defender Raju.
Thank you, Supervisor Fior. This is a historic moment in San Francisco, and I want to thank Supervisor Fewer, the Board of Supervisors for your legislation to make this a reality, and especially to Mayor Breed and Sheriff Miyamoto for working to ensure that we could close this jail as soon as possible. Those of us in the Public Defender's Office who have had countless conversations with people who were incarcerated, members of our community, and have discussed with them their fears, their hopes, the details of their cases, know what a significant moment this is for so many members of our communities and their families. The closure of what's been called County Jail 4 is the result of years and years of advocacy by so many of us in the Public Defender's Office, alongside community members in the No New Jails Coalition, alongside so many city leaders. And I know that a mentor and hero of mine, Jeff Adachi, is smiling from above and so thankful that this is happening today. Because he and I know that it's defenders fighting and caring for one client at a time that's making this possible today. The COVID-19 crisis and the Black Lives Matter movement ignited in this George Floyd moment has shined a light on how important it is for us in this moment to be looking at all of our systems, including our public safety systems, through a public health lens as well as a racial justice lens. Closing this jail is not just about shutting down a dilapidated jail that's been unsafe. It's also about moving in a totally different direction where we can respond to harm done and the needs of our community without an over-reliance on the criminal punishment system. And what is truly historic is that we are not opening a new jail to replace this one. Rather, we're looking to reinvest in communities that have been harmed by the system, particularly Black and brown communities who have been deeply impacted by a racially biased and unfortunately unequal criminal legal system for far too long. When you look at the people who sit inside San Francisco County Jail, 30% have mental health issues, 30 to 40% are houseless, and over 50% are African American. We are jailing the most vulnerable among us. The fact is, jails are only one way to deal with public safety, and there are other options that not only protect our community in the moment, but take a much broader and effective and long-term view of what safety is and what is needed to achieve it. We have such a big opportunity today in San Francisco to lead the way on reimagining public health and community safety by reinvesting in community-based programs and mental health services and supports. And we made great strides in the right direction with a board of supervisors and a mayor who are aligned with us in this moment. So as we close County Jail 4, let's also make clear that we're making a statement about our values as San Franciscans, shifting away from this outdated and ineffective mode of incarceration and moving towards a model where we center human potential, redemption, and healing. Thank you.
Thank you all for your remarks. We will now begin the Q&A portion. Our first question is for Sheriff Miyamoto. Sheriff, your question comes from Dominic Fracaza with the San Francisco Chronicle. What are the city's plans to keep San Francisco's jail population low after the pandemic finally recedes?
To answer that question, we rely on the partnership referenced by Public Defender Raju regarding our collaborations on how to change and reform our system better to keep people from staying incarcerated. We have a plan in place right now which allows for, under COVID conditions, separating out individuals in our system to be healthy and safe. We're at 58% capacity at our San Bruno facility and 55% capacity downtown at our other location known as CJ2. So we have a lot of room for growth if there is a spike in any of our populations. What is good and reassuring is that we were on a path of reform to begin with. The DA's office and the Public Defender's office and our court partners have all been working not just to address the COVID-19 issues, but also the issues of reform that were referenced by the Public Defender. So this is a joint effort by all of us to keep that count down.
Thank you, Sheriff Miyamoto. There are no further questions, and this concludes today's press conference. Thank you, Madam Mayor, and everyone for your time.